Three takeaways from Atlanta United's win in penalties over CF Montreal in the MLS Cup Playoffs wildcard round. Atlanta taking 2-0 lead. CF Montreal scoring twice through Josef Martinez, and then Atlanta winning 5-4 in penalties. Sydney, Tyler, Henry with you. Gentlemen, good grief.
Dude.
Checking my pulse.
Checking your pulse just to make sure. Still breathing?
God, barely.
Yeah.
I to watch this game, I need like an ambulance on standby to watch this team. It's crazy, man.
No doubt. Just an insane game. And again, Atlanta getting off to a quick start, giving up 2 goals to Joseph, like we said. Ultimately winning in penalties again. So let's go to that first point for a second game in a row. Atlanta United getting off to a quick start. Lennon with a really good goal. They score a second goal to go up 2-0, and you're thinking they're going to coast. But that being said, still a quick start, still a really good start on the road. And there's a little trend this team has picked up, and it ultimately didn't hold it tonight, but good to see at least Atlanta getting a couple of early goals under its belt.
I will say I never once thought this team was going to coast. The 2-0 lead had me shook. And I apologize. I'm in the Universal Studios parking lot right now, so if y'all hear like cars in the background, that's mine. I had to watch this game at Universal Studios, and I am looking like a madman because I'm over there watching Atlanta go up 2-0 again. And I'm like, oh, this is great, but I'm waiting for the other shoe. And I'm not trying to be negative, but it's just pins and needles, right? It's the same thing we experienced Saturday. And but really, like, for all the frustration that we've had about this team not being able to hold leads and all that kind of stuff, it still rings true. But the biggest difference now is the fact that they are coming out hot, right? They're coming out swinging.
Yeah.
And you have to do that. You have done more in the first half in the past 2 matches than you pretty much have all season.
Right.
And if you can keep up that kind of momentum, at least it gives you a head start before what feels like the inevitable come apart.
Yeah.
So, it's good to see them coming out with that kind of mentality, though, because it definitely has thrown Orlando and Montreal for a little bit of a loop.
Yeah. Henry?
I just want to – I'm just imagining Tyler on, like, the Hogwarts ride with, like, MLS season pass on his phone. But no, like, I think it's really interesting, this change that we're seeing in Atlanta United. Last game getting off to a really fast start, 2 goals really quickly. And then this game you have, you're going to halftime up 2 goals, and they could have been up by more because they created several very good chances. I know Saba had a good one. Brooks Lennon had a very, very good one that just narrowly, like he skied it, but he was right there, right? Like super close.
Yeah.
Rios had one too.
Yeah.
And Rios had one too, right? And so it's just, you have to take those opportunities, and credit to the team for getting, the 2-0 up, getting that part done in a complicated game. This is, a road game against a team that beat you twice this season. So it's cool that they got there, but, and this will lead into our next point, just the cascade down, that is a serious problem. And it's worrying for me. But while we're still talking about the good stuff, good on them for, attacking. They attack very well. Pedro Amador, by the way, I gave him a lot of credit on Twitter. I tweeted about it. The cross was excellent for that Brooks Lennon goal.
Yep.
Amador, I absolutely cannot wait for what we will see from him next season, because he's going to be a really good piece to build around. You have Brooks Lennon on one side, whose crosses are amazing, are really good. And now you have another fullback who can do pretty much the same thing. So good on him. And Moranchuk, even though, in my opinion, he didn't have a fantastic overall game, he did play the assist to Stion's goal on that set piece, which, by the way, this team hasn't really been good at set pieces this season. And so awesome to see them kind of picking that up, and Stian Gregerson with his 3rd goal of the season.
But then we go to the bad, and that's takeaway number 2, inability to hold the lead. Joseph scoring in the second half to make it 2-1 on a really bad giveaway. Just poor from Brett Guzan, unfortunately. Second goal, there's going to be some controversy, right? Was it inside the box? Was it outside of the box? Ultimately VAR says it's inside the box. Josef scores from the spot. It's 2-2. You go to penalties. But Atlanta, shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. These little moments that we've talked about all throughout the season almost came back to haunt them. Ultimately, they can't hold the lead. It goes to penalties, and they do win. But this is something that, Miami is not going to let them get away with this in this upcoming best-of-3 series. This is something that has plagued this team, as Henry, you just talked about, has plagued this team all season long. Came back to haunt them again, and even though you won, the margin for error is just very, very thin in the playoffs, especially against a team like Inter Miami. Again, they'll make you pay, and I'm sure that'll be a massive point of emphasis on the training ground, as hopefully it's been all throughout the season, but again, on the training ground, and it's worrying. It's very worrying, and maybe it doesn't give me as much hope as I would have if it were a 2-0 win that they could stack up against Miami like they've done this season, but they got to fix it before Friday.
I just know that Rob Valentino is going to be pissed about that.
Oh, absolutely.
He said it before, right? When this team drops those kinds of leads, like a 2-0 win should, in most cases, be game over.
Sure.
Right? In most cases, should be you're in a comfortable position, right? You go on and win the game. And for Atlanta, it just hasn't been the case this season. And that's something that they have to analyze. And it's been the story of this season. And I know we joke a lot about this team having heart attack endings to games. It shouldn't be like that. It really shouldn't. And so, yeah, I'm also kind of worried about that. Yeah. And also another thing I wanted to point out, whenever this team concedes, right, it's like the worst mistakes, like the mistakes go really, really wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, and in this case, it's
shocking giveaway from Brad. Just shocking,
who throughout the season has been the most consistent player for this team. He's been rock solid all season long, and then he has his worst moment right then and there, and it gives Montreal a sliver into the game, and they just kind of push the door on open from there. And from that moment, Montreal grows into the game, and that's where they start attacking. They get their penalty and all that stuff. Chaos breaks loose. But if you don't give them that moment, it's probably a little harder for them to get that momentum going. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, this team. I think one of the biggest things after seeing the way this game played out, seeing Orlando, and then just taking into consideration really all season, the team struggles when they are pinned in, and it's almost as if they're indecisive on what they want to do trying to play out from their own box. At moments, like there was a point when Jay Fortune put his foot through the ball because I think he was just tired of seeing it, and sent it literally across the pitch because they were pinned in over and over. Montreal's pinging balls just left and right, and when they do have that opportunity to counter, they look dangerous on a couple, but there's never that incisiveness that you want. There's always just a step too late, or in some cases, I mean, there was one moment where for all the good Saba has done, he had Jamal Tiare wide open on a transition at one point, and it would have been 3-0 easy. So it's little moments like that, and it always comes from the transition moments. And this team, going back to the beginning of the year, was not built to be a transition team. It's kind of what you've fallen into in a way at this point, because you don't have. I don't want to say you don't have the talent. You just don't have the personnel in the sense like that's how they like to play out of the back, like we saw Pineda trying to do in the beginning of the year. Have to fix it. To both of y'all's points, Miami, they're not going to let you get away with it. And of course, this will go to the next point as well. Atlanta's been really good against Miami, but you can't give up 2-0 leads. And I understand 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in soccer. We've heard it. Derek Williams said it to us the other day in Orlando. Yeah. It rings true all the time, but you can't let that happen. I got to give a shout out. I didn't want to believe it because I just didn't want to go through the heartache and the pain and the scared, moments that we just went through. Yeah. But my wife got this freaking scoreline dead on. She said it's going to be 2-2. Joseph's going to score at least one, and Atlanta's going to win in penalties.
Yeah.
So
Good for
I'm
her.
waiting
Shout
to
out.
see what she says about the Miami one.
Yeah, shout out to Maria for sure. So, yeah, that takes us, like you said, Tyler, to point number 3. Inter Miami coming up. Messi and co. starts Friday. Moves to Mercedes-Benz Stadium next Saturday, and then a possible Game 3 is back at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. This has been a team that Atlanta United has done very well against. We know what happened in Fort Lauderdale in the regular season. Saba scored a brace, and they won 3-1. You were pretty unfortunate to get a draw against them at home. Should have won that match. Realistically, this is a team that Atlanta United has stacked up well against in the regular season. But that being said, this is a whole new competition. This is a whole new set of circumstances that Atlanta United will have to navigate. Inter Miami are coming in really hot. We already know how tough they are in the attack. Defensively, they're a little bit slippy, and that's something that Atlanta United, as we talked about, needs to take advantage of. They need to really not let the moment be too big. They just need to keep believing, ride this wave of momentum that they're on, and on Friday, do the same thing you did tonight. Not the exact same thing, but obviously give up 2 goals. But
Yeah.
do the same you did. Get out to a quick start and make Miami chase the game. We know they can score. We know Inter Miami can score, but can you weather the storm, the inevitable storm that is coming in the person of Messi, Suarez? If you can do that, you can get back to Mercedes-Benz Stadium next Saturday with a shot at potentially, hey, against all odds, moving on to the next round. But we can't get too ahead of ourselves. Friday is a whole new match, and LA United has to be at their absolute best to beat Miami on Friday.
I said on MLS Monday last night, doesn't feel like it. We've got a lot of football in the past 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I said that they have to take every positive feeling that they have from Orlando and carry it forward and just live in that moment, live in the vibes, you know? You got to do the same thing now. I mean, you get to come home and maybe have a day, you know, a little bit of extra time, but you're still right back at it. You know, you got to get right back to it. You have to take the momentum that you got from this and take it down to Fort Lauderdale and bring it all. Bring, you know, all the hype videos, bring what they felt in these past 2 matches. Like I think some people are saying, you know, you're playing with house money is kind of what it feels like. I mean, and admittedly, like, you kind of are, because the season didn't end the way you wanted it to up until decision day. No. And then things started to go your way. But as far as Miami's concerned, I mean, yeah, Atlanta's kind of had their number. Even going back to the end of last year, of course, like Leagues Cup is one thing. When Messi first got here, it was, you know, that 4-0 loss, that was bad. But then you go and trounce them at home 5-2. So if you go back to then Atlanta has, you know, a plus 5 goal differential. Yeah, I mean, you're doing pretty well against this team. And at the end of the day, what Miami comes down to is they can score goals, but they're going to give up goals. Their defense is just not that great. And so go take advantage of it, ride the vibe, ride the high that you got. Go down there, know that you can score some goals, and it's got to be a shootout. Let it be a shootout. But step up when you need to and keep everybody from having to go to the cardiologist the next day.
Yeah. Henry.
Atlanta United, fun fact, Atlanta United is the only MLS team to get 4 points against Inter Miami this season.
Wow.
That should be an encouraging fact.
Hopefully.
in a season where you're like, okay, well, Miami should easily roll over Atlanta United. Miami has not been able to beat Atlanta United this season. And it's interesting. Yeah. And yes, I mean, I can't remember if Messi played in Fort Lauderdale, right?
Right.
Pretty sure he did.
He did.
And then he played.
Like all of them started in that match.
Yeah, and then he played in the Benz, albeit like a few minutes after coming back from an injury. So I don't know what sample size you want to take from that. This game could be very different because the stakes are much higher than just a regular season game. This is life or death, and Messi in those situations tends to go off. He has throughout his career been impactful in the biggest moments. Yeah. And so this is it for him, right? Miami has had a fantastic season so far, but they definitely want MLS Cup to cap it all off. But Atlanta, we've talked about how they play down to the level of some opponents. Well, they play up to them too.
Right.
So I really don't know what to expect, but I definitely do think that Atlanta can give Inter Miami a run for their money, So yeah, definitely just my one worry right now is Pedro Amador. I hope it's nothing serious, man.
Yeah.
Because if he is out, he's gonna be missed.
Yeah.
He's so good, not just going forward like we talked about, but just defensively. He's so smart. He's so just a warrior. And I've said it before. Like
Yeah.
I really like how he plays, and like it's gonna be important to have him there because
This whole game changed when he came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because keep in mind, who are you going to have attacking down that side against Miami? It's going to be
exactly.
Messi. And so you need to. It's going to be huge if a huge difference if you don't have him, is what I'm saying. So yeah, I mean, obviously, great, good news that Atlanta's going through.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah, we'll wait for the news from the team on the conditions of Amador, and hopefully he is okay to go on Friday. But as for the scoreline, Atlanta United and Montreal played to a 2-2 draw, but Atlanta advanced via penalties 5-4. We'll talk about it tomorrow on Scarves and Spikes here on YouTube. Go to scarvesandspikes.com, all the coverage before, during, and after the match. And we will see you next time. So long. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.